Hey guys, so let me start the thought. What do you think Michael Phelps, Tom Brady, Sachin Tendulkar, and Virat Kohli all have in common? Yes, you all know that they're legends in their own field, but what really makes them extraordinary? Was it just the talent that they had? Were they God gifted? I feel like it was the fact that they started early and they stayed consistent throughout the journey. So for Sachin Tendulkar, he started at the age of 9 and he was in the international team at the time when he was 16. For Michael Phelps, you probably heard the fact that he was a teenager in his first Olympics, so he is just 14 years old. And same can be said about the other people, like Virat Kohli. He did really well in the under 19 tournament. So that is really the power of compounding. So in finance, you have small investments that grow rapidly over time just because of the fact that you compounded or you stayed consistent with finance. So skills work on the same sort of ideology. So if someone spends more time on anything, they're definitely going to master that. And the same happens with careers. So we have a very special guest, Muskan Walia, with me today. She's currently an SDE at Microsoft, but she really showed the power of compounding and starting early because she's one of those few people that actually start it within her first year. A lot of people say that the first year is really chill. It's the time where you explore college life, you have a lot of time, and people end up with that mentality throughout the entire 4 years. And what happens in the end is you're really scratching your head at the end of 4 years. You're really wondering whether you did something wrong. And the main thing that you messed up on is not being consistent and not starting early. So most careers look like that where you don't start early, but the careers where people start early, you can see the exponential growth that they have. So I'll introduce Muskan a bit. So she's basically from MS Ramia Institute of Technology, that is in Bangalore. She was selected for Google's Women Engineering program. She ranked amongst the top 2.5% in Google's global hackathon, where she competed with 27,000 plus people from 800 plus universities. She later on secured an internship at Microsoft, which she converted into a full time role. And today she is a software engineer at Microsoft, which is pretty much a lot of people's dreams. So we're really going to dive into her journey, understand her mentality, and hopefully get some facts for you that would help you in your own journey. So thank you so much, Muskan, first of all, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you must be busy, and it's quite stressful of a time to be in IT, especially with news about AI coming here and there every day. So yeah, hopefully I didn't miss out anything on your introduction, but I'd love to know more about you apart from the academics. Who is Muskan Walia? If I ask that question to be precise.
Now that's a very deep question. Even Muskan Walia till now is figuring who is she actually. But yeah, just framing it well is Muskan Walia is someone who has understood that there's nothing called as failure. There are only two options: either you win or you learn. So I think so that is one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I would like to define myself with that. And continuing on to that is Muskan Wale, if you call that she's an engineer, but she's also a yapper. So we have a professional side and then we have a personal side. So yes, I think so. I am trying to balance both of them. With AI thing, as you mentioned, yes, its priorities have changed. Now the tasks that were earlier, let's say, expected to be completed in a week are now expected to be completed in a day or two. And they are not wrong on their part because earlier you, let's say you only had your senior SWE who you had to go for every small bit of doubt, even if that is a doubt of the setup, because you don't have much, like you just have one resource, and let's say there's some doubt which isn't mentioned in that resource, so now you have to go to your senior suite which will tell you, oh, this is a common error, you can debug it like this. But now you have Copilot, Chat GPT, every company has their own AI tools. For us it's Copilot, where we can easily get those answers. So now they know that they have already given every software engineer an assistant, which is 24/7 with you, to tell you what is the existing pattern of work, what was the resolution of some common error. So they are, I would say, on the right side to expect at times that this work is now actually of 2 days. Now, when we say, oh, the jobs will be less, okay, might be there are some jobs which are getting totally replaced by AI. We can say, for example, support engineers. I sometimes think of that. Like, if we have AI who which can be trained on the answers and the bugs, then will all the support engineers be there? Same for SWE. Like, do we need actually all the workforce that we today have in the future if AI can actually build code? and let's say it improves building code in the coming years? These are all the questions, and I think so time will be the best answer. But I will always say, yes, I think so. Most of the people, if they could relate, earlier they used to be Munshi, the
Correct.
accountant who
Correct.
used to write the
Yeah.
accounts in the notebooks, and they were the people doing all those things. Today, you have Excel doing that. You don't need a Munshi or you don't need four Munshi. One Excel can do it all. But then now you need one person to handle that Excel, right? So you
Yeah.
have an accounts department now who
Correct.
needs to be well versed with the Excel. So if I would just say this to all juniors who are like, oh, are we in the right field? Are we doing something wrong? If let's say a role title changes with some expectations deleted and some expectations added, there will be new roles adding up to that with a little tweaks to it. So jobs is gonna be there. If people say, "Oh, AI will do everything," still there. Someone is needed to tell AI what to do. AI can
Correct.
only work on human expertise, on human inputs. It trains on that. You still need a human out there. So, what I'll say, the thing that has changed is you should know how to use AI to your benefit. Coming on to which, even during my internship days, that time the AI was not at its
Correct.
peak. Right now, it's at its peak, but still, we had GitHub Copilot that time, and not everyone was using it. But during my internship, what I used to do, let's say I'm writing a code. So before going to my mentor, one option was, oh, let me go to my mentor, give him the code, and let him critique it. But is my mentor so free? My mentor has his own work, right? He's
Yeah.
there for mentoring. And when we have Copilot, why not use it? So I know that I used to give the context of why I'm adding this code and then ask. So obviously you give it a role. Okay, you are a senior software engineer. And then I would ask the Copilot to critique my code, to critique my approach, and it would give me pros and cons, and I would read it. And it's not always that Copilot is right. Somewhere down the line, if let's say some point which I don't agree to it, till today I would ask, okay, what is the source of truth of it? Now, source of truth is some blog of a senior software developer. Agree, that is right. But if source of truth is some random comment on a post, then I'll say, oh, let's shove it out. It's not to be concentrated upon. So that's how you utilize it. I've even utilized it during my internship, during my setup errors, during critiquing of my code, during reusability and accessibility, like checking whether my code is matching up to the industry standards or not. Because as an intern, you are not very sure of what are the industry standards, what are the existing patterns in this repo. And this is all where AI can be really, really helpful. So that is what they mean. Quoting one of the news that has created all this buzz is the Google telling
Yeah.
most of the people that either you work with AI or you can happily
Maybe.
just leave or retire now. And
Yeah.
people is like, oh my god, the software jobs are over. No, Google is just saying start using AI. That's it. You cannot be adamant and stubborn of saying, oh, I will not use AI. I am a great coder. I'll code it all myself. Yes, you can code it all yourself. But if you are such a great coder, what the companies now want is use AI, do the same job that you can do in 2 days, which other people take with AI to do in 2 days. You are a great coder. You can do it in 2 days without AI. Use AI, do that job in 1 day, and still give us that extra 1 day to do something else. So they are just saying this improve on their efficiency because they are very correct. Most of the investments are being drained into AI. And
Correct.
how can a company expect other common people to use AI if their own employees will not use it? They need that information from their own developers of how good it is, how bad it is, where is it failing, or what else better we can do with that. So it's not about the jobs getting deleted, it's more about the jobs getting reformed in the
Yeah.
coming future with new expectations, new responsibilities.
Yeah, and I think that is something that pattern is something that we observe a lot, like throughout the history of whenever there's a new invention. Like initially there's a calculator, so you wouldn't be stubborn and be like, no, I'm gonna do all the calculations by myself because the human mind also has a limit. And if you're getting an improvement on that, why not use it if you are able to use it effectively while keeping your own sanity, not just like totally depending on that. Like even with any invention, I think like when you get a car, you don't. I don't think when someone has a car or something that they think that why should I use a car? I can just walk. And I think there's a cool blog that I read where it was a video I think by Y Combinator where they mentioned that like in the olden days, electricity was used as a wrapper to like build a lot of things. So people at that time, they didn't feel like we're just building a wrapper, because they're using
Mhm.
electricity at the end of the day. And I think that the same would go with AI, but I don't know why people sort of hype it up that jobs are gonna go, or they're gonna
Mhm.
get replaced. And I think you did a good job in
Because
sort of,
of the
yeah,
layoffs.
yeah, because of the
It's
layoffs.
just the
Yeah,
timing. It's just the timing that is happening because the
yeah,
layoffs are also happening and then AI inventions are also happening. So they're like, oh my God, things are not matching up. This might and I think so whenever there's an invention, there's a fear. When
correct.
Excel came, there was a fear. When Google came, there was a fear. And not just a fear of jobs, I would say. There's
Yeah,
always a
correct.
fear of human mind getting a backseat. So when Google came, even then there was the schools, especially in
Yeah,
the, I would say 6 to 12th classes, there was something called as, oh, you cannot copy it from net. I'll check. The
correct,
teachers
correct,
used to
correct.
say that. I'll check it. Don't copy it from net. Today, I think so. There might be a AI checker also in schools of
I
like,
think
you
I
cannot
think
do
they
this
they
homework
do
from
have
net.
that. Yeah, I think they
Yeah,
have that
they do have, like the
in
top
some
schools
places.
do have it. And so there has always been a fear of the human mind getting like
Replace.
stopping to work,
Yeah,
like
we
it's
can say
getting too
replace.
dependent on something. But actually, till date, we cannot find anything which can replace the human mind. So even if you say of using AI, that's what I might be wrong here, but that's what I have seen. An intelligent person using AI will still do the job better and in a less
Correct,
time than a person who is just blindly driving AI. So AI is nothing but a steering wheel. Who is holding that steering is also very important.
correct.
So that's where the real difference comes, I believe.
Yeah, that was a really good example that you gave. Not like I think about. So, or at the end of the day, it depends on the driver. Like if you talk about F1 in that, like it depends. Like everyone has like a decent car, but if you don't know how to drive, you don't have the skills, you're gonna crash any day. So like you should treat it like a steering wheel. So I wanted to know a bit about your first year of engineering. Because as much as I know about you, actually did a lot, and I think you built some good habits probably in the first year of engineering. So, what should people do when they enter the first year of engineering? Because there's a lot of things in college, right? Some people feel that we should chill, we have a lot of time. Some people miss a lot of opportunities. So, how did you make advantage of your first year, and what did you exactly do, and what were the opportunities
Um,
that people should look out for?
so first of all, that I would say I have done is um okay. So first thing first, it's your own choice, but be very careful of your choices. For example, I really like some of my friends from IIT who were getting great offers from HFT, like Graviton also, but
Correct,
they still didn't went by those offers because they had a great clarity in their life. I think so. Even I am still yet to get to on to that level, but they had this clarity. Oh no, I need work-life balance. I might be able to do that work, but I'll not be able to do that work very happily in the longer run. So
correct.
having that kind of a clarity is very important in life. The same depends in the college. So if people think that my college did not had
Any
clubs, it did.
opportunity?
Yeah, it did have. There were many of my classmates, my friends going, participating in fest, doing every else thing. I had a clarity of this thanks to my senior Ansh Pasari. He was a 1 year elder to me, and I was talking to him, and he said, "See, you are in electronics, and you already have 6 computer branches." Not just two. You have 6 computer branches, all specializations, and everything came
Correct,
from
correct,
our year only. So you
correct,
have six computer branches standing in front of you, which is, if not more, is around 1,000 students.
correct,
And then you have electronics branches. Okay, so there's already very less chance of you getting some opportunities on campus. Let's be very honest, right?
correct,
Because on campus, if you perform exceptional, or else like it's like exceptional,
correct,
I mean normally the average of the people they are selecting is 3 out of 4, and you
correct,
have done all 4 questions, which is at
correct,
times rare. Okay,
correct.
because luck also has its own place.
Yeah,
So
and
either
on
you do
campus
that,
that is, yeah, luck is
yeah,
also a
or
very
else,
important thing. Yeah,
or else they just take the CS people because they know they have been studying the very same
correct,
subjects for years on which they have to test them. So
correct,
that's like a normal human bias, which is totally right also on their end. Now, that is when told me, and he said, okay, you can do X hobbies you want, but then be prepared that that is gonna be the scene of your on campus. And this was told to me in the very first or second month of my college. And I knew that. That's why my target was that I have to get some off campus internship. I need to try to get the PPO that I don't have to sit for my on campus.
Correct.
So that was my target, that I don't want to sit for my on campus. Let me try and get a better opportunity off campus. So let's say, God forbid, if I'm not able to get one, then I know, okay, I'm sitting on campus, but I am ready for the exceptional part, because I have actually, if the preparation for on off campus was 100, I have done of 300 or 400 level
Correct.
for the off campus competition, so I will be way more prepared. So I took it like that, and that was a well thought decision. And I knew I'm gonna screw my college life, which I did screw. I always joke it with my friends that, except for the place where my college is, MSR Nagar, and Belenduru, my uncle used to live there. Except these two places, I don't know any other place in Bangalore, because I never got the time to visit places, and Bangalore being the happening place. And now I think, oh shit, damn, I missed upon most of the things. But that was, I don't have regrets, because that was my own
Correct.
decision, a well thought decision. So if you can take such a decision, then only take it. Else, if you're happy with the clubs, happy with whatever you face in the fourth year, that's also fine, because I feel everyone have their own life and their own choices.
Correct.
But
Correct.
be prepared that this is what I'm gonna face, maybe. Or let's say, if you know, oh, I'm in this. So I have many friends who are into CSC, um, who have enjoyed their college life. Still in the fourth year, they got the chance to sit for the great companies that came on campus, like PhonePe came. There was also D-Shaw, and they did well and they got selected. Good for them. Their luck favored them. I'm not saying that their luck favored in getting the job, but their luck favored in getting them the right opportunities. And then
Correct.
when they got the right opportunities, their hard work, it was all their hard work that they finally got the result.
Correct.
But
Correct.
getting opportunity is the very first and the most difficult thing. So
Yeah.
just be clear onto that part of how many opportunities do you have in hand. That is actually directly proportional to how much fun you can have without having any regrets. So I was clear onto that part. That's why, not just from my college, even before entering my college, I was just I kept reading about the opportunities that is available. I knew there are some women in tech opportunities by scrolling through different YouTube channels and blogs. There weren't that many during my time. Today though, I can see so many there
Yes.
are, and which is really good for the people. They can get the knowledge so easily. But at
Yeah.
time, I searched through the YouTube and through LinkedIn. I had my LinkedIn already prepared before I entered my college. I think so. I had 200 connections, and I was sending
Yeah.
to the people of Walmart, Flipkart, Google. It's like maybe somewhere down the line I would require their guidance. So just let's connect with them. I used to send them personalized connects and understand also. Okay, oh, she is a girl from LinkedIn coaching. What is LinkedIn coaching? Let me see. Oh, that's like a second day internship program for girls by LinkedIn. Same way I found about Flipkart Grid. Oh, that's a program for all second year, whether you're girl, boy, anyone can participate in this hackathon, win, and then get a chance for the internship. Same way there's American Express MX Makeathon. There's Google Girls Hackathon, there's Google Girls Step program, there used to be Microsoft Engage. This year also Microsoft has its own hackathon,
Correct.
which they conducted recently.
Correct.
And most of the times, like for Google Girls Hackathon, they don't explicitly say it, oh, we are hiring, and they're not hiring drives. But ideally, if you perform well in company programs, you get into their database. And later on, if they find any opportunity which they think, oh, she is eligible, they do contact you. And I think so.
Yeah.
The most difficult part in off campus is getting into the company's database. So
Correct.
that's why I really, really stress upon most of the people of please, please participate in the company programs. And most of them happens in first year and second year. Not in first year, then in second year. But if you have to perform well in second year, then you have to be prepared in the first year. That's the only option you have. So that's why today first year and second year has become important, I believe. Also,
Correct.
let's assume that you don't have, like, you are a CSC person, you have great on campus placements, and you don't have to be worried about off campus placements. Still, I feel getting an internship in third year, let's say on campus only you got it and you just started from second year. We have many examples like this that who worked only
Correct.
for 8 months so and they got into intern. If you are like that, awesome. And
Correct.
turn that into PPO. But I always say that the best part is if you can get an internship and get a PPO.
Yeah, I think it
So
would be the
that
easiest route. Yeah, like less
yeah, that's
competition
the
also.
easiest part. Yeah, there's lesser competition. I always say, if a company, if you can get into a company in a second year internship, okay, and get converted to get a third year, most likely you'll get a PPO.
Correct.
And that's what I believe. That why? Because I think a company is invested on you, right? So,
Yeah.
and for the people who don't know, even taking interviews require money, time, resources
Correct.
from a
Correct.
company.
Correct. Correct.
So again and again, taking interview for the very same role is more and more resources and investment they are yielding for that very role. So they don't want it ideally. So if you are a person who they have been paying trained from the second year, even if you are 90 and the person they are interviewing is 92, they'll say better take the 90%, right? He
Yeah.
has been
Why
because
repeat
they
that
know
process?
yeah, he knows, at least the company knows he doesn't need to be trained again. He
Correct.
knows the company culture, he knows how to settle up in the company and everything. That person needs to be trained again. Not saying that people are not hired, fourth year peeps, they are, but the later you arrive, the more competition you need to face. That's it. The more
Correct.
expectations are increased. Same happens if you are applying as an SD2 or let's say 2 years experience in system design will also be asked to you, which might
Correct.
not be asked for fourth year person. That's the same rule here. So that's what I believe. And also one extra added benefit that even I did not thought, but it helped me was because first of all, lesser competition. I got Google on my resume with Google Girls Hackathon, Google Women Engineer Scholarship. I got that was like a 2 year training programs by sponsored by Google. So that was on my resume. Then I got Microsoft, and I think so. All the companies I've applied off campus, whether that's Microsoft, Amazon, Notion, Flipkart, Atlassian, for all of them, I was shortlisted without a referral. This I'm not saying that you should not take a referral. Referral always help, but I did not find a need. For me, my referrals, my resumes were already getting shortlisted, and I think so. One of the biggest reason was of having such things on my resume. I had Google Girls Hackathon, I had Google Women Engineer Scholarship on my resume. All these things added up of me getting shortlisted even without a referral. So this all helped,
Correct.
and I would say that one more benefit that I found was that I got a PPO. I think so. In my before my eighth sem started, I was in my seventh sem only. Yes, when I got a PPO, I got it before
Mm.
around the start of my seventh sem. So seventh and eighth sem I was chilling. I was chill.
When everyone was
I
probably
did
worrying.
yeah, everyone, most of them, not everyone, most of
Was
them were worried about the
yeah.
job. Yeah, and I was the chill person. It's like, yeah, well, my job is sorted. I'm good. I don't have to sit for the on campus. And that time I utilized to do other things that I like and
Correct.
explore things. So some of my friends whose PPO was sorted, some did research internships at great international universities. I wanted to always try the teaching method out, and luck favored me, and I got opportunities from like I had studied DSA. So I studied 2 years self-study I had done of DSA through the Google Women Engineers program on my side, and 1 year I studied from Algozenith. So from Algozenith only I got an opportunity to be a DSA instructor during my 7th and 8th sem. And through that I actually got a chance to meet so many students and my juniors, and it was a great experience to know okay what are the problems, because at a time when I needed help, I had some seniors who helped me a lot. So giving it back to the society was a great feeling. And I think so till date, why I'm still involved in all these processes with my job, as you very well said, that yes, it has become a little more demanding nowadays. But I think so that's a different set of a feeling that you get that, okay, I'm giving back to the society.
Yeah.
What if I wouldn't have found those podcasts? Who could tell me, okay, what is LinkedIn
Yeah.
coaching, what is Google Women Engineer Scholarship Program? So the earlier you start, The earlier you get settled, and then you have your 1 year at the end to explore the things that you were finding, oh, it's risky, I'm not very sure, but I want to try it out. So that try it out thing, you can try it in the final year if you have all your things
Time.
settled.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's go into the Q&A section of things. So there are a couple of doubts that have been asked, Muskan. So I'll just ask those doubts. So there's one doubt that says regarding directions to take if I've already learned one coding language. So I think he knows one coding language. He just needs uh, to know more about like what you should do after that. So like any advice regarding what you should do after
The
learning
very,
one programming language?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the very first advice will be to start the DSA because how much ever AI is coming, DSA still remains a very important metric in interviews to measure your understanding. You'll not believe on my top mate session. So I'm also on TopMate as a among the top
And
1% TopMate mentors. So I recently got a TopMate request from a person who is in visa for the last 20 years. And he will be interviewing for Google principal role. And he was discussing with me, okay, DSA is asked less in the interview, but still it's asked from me. And it's been quite years that I've done DSA like a student because he has been passed out since last 26 years. So how can you tell me how can I do DSA in this like 1 to 2 months to just prepare well? Because obviously the expectation for that role is more of system design,
correct.
etc. But still DSA is asked. So now you can understand the importance of DSA. Like even for the principal role, a person is coming in. I was like, "What? You need the guidance from me?" Oh, okay, related to DSA because I am more closer of doing it recently. So that also happened. So even that was a surprise to me. But this also happened. So DSA being the very first and prime most priority, I would say you should focus upon because you already know a coding language, so now you just need to practice on data structures, which normally requires 6 to 8 months if you are a total beginner, which I'm expecting that the person has asked the
Yeah.
question
I
is.
think they are. Yeah.
So 6 to 8 months, yeah. So 6 to 8 months when I'm saying you need for DSA is not like, oh, you can be well versed with it. 6 to 8 months you need to understand DSA. Okay, now
Correct.
I know all the methods, now I know what is GP, now I know what is graph, and
Yeah.
I've solved a good adequate amount of questions to understand all of those also to practice them on the easy, medium, and hard level. After
Correct.
those 8 months, all you need to do is keep on giving different contests. Lead code, code chef. If you are more into the CP side, then code
Code
forces, but
forces.
not every likes competitive programming. So you can focus on code chef and lead code if you're not much into CP. Else code forces is always there. So then you just have to give the contest and let's say one lead code daily question you are doing for you to just keep on revising the stuff. That's it. That's all you require. And the rest of the 5 days or 4 days that you have in hand, except for these contests, you can utilize them for your development part. And I know AI, blockchain, data science, all of these are great streams, great things, but first, I always say construct the building and then think about interiors. They are really good decor and interiors, not the building. The foundation still remains the same. The foundation is DSA, data structure, that is a coding language. You should know a coding language. You should know how to apply data structures with that. And another foundation is you should either know full stack or app development. So
Correct.
most of the times what happens is app development, sometimes people find it a little harder than full stack. So normally people prefer full stack. First, you know the basic of full stack. I'm not telling you to be the master of it, but know at least what is full stack, what is back end, what is front end, what is your Azure or let's say AWS doing, what is deployment. Understand these things. Once you are good with those, you are good with full stack, then whatever you want to learn, whatever you want to excel at, make more projects, do that. Like I always say, if you like AI, make different projects on AI. Nobody is stopping you, but you cannot say, okay, I'll start with AI and maybe I'm not that well versed with what is front end.
Correct.
Like, why to just
Correct.
add a dependency on yourself, right? If
Correct.
oh,
Correct.
somebody will build a website, be a developer in my team who knows full stack, then only I can apply AI.
Correct. And even for AI, there's a lot of fundamental, like even for machine learning,
Exactly.
you'll have to go from that route. You can just directly jump to any such
Yeah,
new
they
trend.
obviously they everyone has a B, C, D like the thing, but
Correct.
like these two are the basic things. If you have these two, then you can start building up your resume. You can start having the questions, the contest ratings and rankings on your resume. If you have full stack, you can at least start participating in the hackathons. If not
Correct.
national ones, at least the college level ones. Then
Yeah.
eventually you keep on learning AI, blockchain, data science, whatever interests you, and make more well-versed projects and better problem solving projects with that. But let's first focus on fundamentals. Once you are well versed with that, we can focus on the extras.
Yeah. So another doubt was how to stay consistent in DSA. So I think we've covered like DSA a bit, but how to stay
Yeah.
consistent, and I'd actually like to add on to that. What were the resources that you use? Because a lot of people they juggle a lot of resources. So should you stick to one resource? What did you use personally, and how to stay consistent? Or how did you like get up daily and solve any number of questions?
First thing is the first truth is to stay consistent, stick to one resource. I think so. The most common mistake we do is of keep jumping of resources.
Correct.
Find one. You can take, I always say, you can take 1 month to decide which resource you want to follow. Like, just see 1 or 2 videos and judge, okay, I don't want to follow or I want to follow. But like 1 or 2 videos should be enough for you to judge whether you are understanding what that mentor is teaching or not understanding. But after that, once you have decided, oh yes, I am understanding it, it may be hard, but once if I try, I do get that and I want to follow this resource, then stick to it. Stick to it.
Yeah.
You have
Stick to a
taken
resource.
the time, you have read the review. I always say the best thing to do to know whether this course or whether this resource is good or not, find any person who have already done that.
Hmm.
You can easily find that by the people posting on LinkedIn nowadays and etc. And ask them for the
Correct.
review. If you vibe with them, awesome, follow that resource. If you don't follow it. But once you follow a resource, then don't jump to another resource until you have completed it. And then, if let's say, as a resource, if you're using a course, then don't listen to anyone except for the mentor of that course, because he has a plan for you or she has a plan for you. Now, if you listen to 10 other people or try 10 other things along with the same plan of him, obviously you're gonna get overwhelmed. And the moment you get overwhelmed, you're gonna say, oh, I'm not able to do it. That's where the first break in consistency comes, or when we try to get like maximum resources on the table at the
Hmm.
same time. Don't do that. Second thing is, DSA is hard. Okay. When you have the expectation of today I'll solve an array question, from tomorrow I'll start solving all the array questions myself. No, that will not happen. I always say till the time when you are preparing in DSA for those 6-8 months, when you still don't know all the topics in DSA, don't judge yourself.
Okay.
When you are doing a question of DP to understand DP, because you have just studied dynamic programming, then don't judge yourself for, oh, I'm able to do it or not.
Yeah.
That you're just trying as a solved example, as we used to do in our school time. If you're able
Correct.
to solve this solved example, awesome. If you're not, then it's no bad in looking at the solution, because right now I'm learning.
Yeah.
We will judge ourselves once we are done with DSA and we are giving contest. That's the
Correct.
time when we judge, because okay, now I know all the topics. Now what is stopping me from not answering this question? Is it a new concept? Okay, cool, then I'll study it. It's a concept that I knew, I had studied, but I don't remember. Okay, I got it. Means I need revision of that concept more. I understood where am I lacking. Maybe I remember that topic, I have studied it, but I was not able to recognize, okay, this pattern had to be applied
Pattern.
on this
Correct.
course. So I need the practice with recognition. And the method to do that is more questions to be solved on the same patterns, to understand, okay, how to deduce a pattern, this pattern in different questions. So that's how we judge ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you judge yourself like this, right, when you always have an answer of why I was not able to do this, you actually have an answer of your next step. So you're
Correct.
already motivated. Okay, if I do this, then I know I will be able to do this. So it's the demotivation comes when I'm like, I don't know why I'm not able to. So that don't know only tells you, oh, I don't find a way ahead. So it's better I drop DSA.
Yeah.
DSA is
Drop
not
it.
my
Correct.
cup of tea.
Correct.
The last thing that I think so brings in lots of demotivation is when you have a very strict rule of, okay, every day 4 hours I have to do DSA. Oh, every day
Yeah.
5 questions of DSA I have to do. Don't. Don't put a hard line on it. I, during my college days, when semester used to start, that used to be the most free time because the labs are still starting off. There's no much assignment. It's just the session
Yeah,
beginning, semester beginning time. So, not much assignments out there on the table. That is the time, let's say, if on an average day I used to do 4 questions, that was the time when I used to do 6 questions of DSA. Because
correct.
right now I'm free. I can get that time. Same way, during my semester end examination, if I'm only able to do 1 question daily, or let's say even if I'm for that 10 days, thanks to my electronics paper, even if I'm not able to do any question of DSA, I'm not in guilt. It's okay. I'm not in guilt. Or let's say if I'm only able to do an easy question, because I just have to keep myself in touch with DSA. I don't want to be like in a moment after exam of saying, oh, I don't remember. I don't feel like doing the essay. So I might do the same very questions that I've done. Or let's say even if I'm not doing, I'll just turn the pages of my DSA notes. That's it. Without any guilt, oh, I'm not solving any new DSA question. I'm not learning any new DSA topic. It's okay. Because I know when I had time, I had done extra. But
Correct.
today, if I'm not doing it, it's okay. So
It's
it's
okay.
all about the priority game. It's okay. And I think so. This thing only has helped me to even pass out in electronics, which is the hard subject
Yeah, it's
actually.
usually the hard.
I know electronics is the tough part, but if you, and this is a learning for your life also. Not I take it like that. During my intern also, I had to balance different things. I had to balance documentation. I had to balance the coding part to be completed. I had to balance the presentation to be given at the last week.
Correct.
That's what that makes you learn of the rule of multitasking and prioritization. You need to prioritize your task. You have to be long sighted. You have to understand, okay, today I have time, let me do 6 questions. So that if there are days when I'm doing none, I am free of any guilt. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's how I think so. If you're following these things, you
you
will
can do
not
it.
get disheartened and you'll surely be consistent. And the moment you feel you are getting disheartened, I always say pick up the easiest questions. Pick up the most easiest question and just keep on doing them. And when you see one, two, three, accept buttons getting green for you, right? You are
Yeah,
happy again. Next day you will come with better energy. So it's okay.
yeah,
If you're feeling disheartened, don't do medium hard questions that day. Don't even do the good easy questions. Do the easiest questions those days. Because that day you're just motivating yourself to keep doing DSA. So sometimes the aims also need to be tweaked a little.
yeah. So just to summarize, the main thing, first of all, after learning a language, like the first doubt was that you basically can dive into DSA. So pick one resource, take 1 month or 2 months, whatever time that you have based on what year you are in. Do that, then follow that entire resource, complete all the questions. If you're disheartened at some days, try some easy questions, and stay in touch with DSA. Don't like have like certain daily goals. That is up to you. Like it depends on what you want to do. But at the end of the day, try to stay in touch in DSA. And after that, it is okay to look at the solution. So Muskan also mentioned what to do when you aren't getting the solution. You can look at the solution, learn from that solution, but most importantly, learn whatever you take. Answer the whys. That is, I think, the most important point that was mentioned. That you have to know why you aren't able to solve a question, and then later on, once you're confident, take part in competitions, apply for internships. You get a lot of real time practice in those OA rounds as well. So just do that. That is pretty much what she had done in order to get into DSA. And lastly, that one and more point I'd like to add is that DSA is probably not dead, and it's probably not close to being dead, because she mentioned the visa example where someone who has 20 years of experience, they still had to like reach out for DSA, and I don't think that was a scene maybe 20 years back or something like that. And I also know a lot of people like they are like 10, 15 years of experience, but they're still getting asked DSA in the interview. So DSA is like LIC. I think they have that tagline,
Yeah.
जिंदगी के बाद भी जिंदगी के like
प्लेसमेंट के साथ भी
placement
प्लेसमेंट के बाद भी
साथ में और
yeah.
बाद में. So you always have to be in touch with the DSA. So there was another doubt. So this doubt was kind of very open ended. So we can answer this later on. He said how to get an intern at Microsoft in 2026. Since it's very open ended, could you just explain the timelines when Microsoft generally hires, and for what years when they hire, if you can recall when that happened with you, and if you can explain the rounds in a very brief manner, that
Okay, so earlier they used